All righty, here we go. It is Flyers game day. On the right side of your screen, there's Brian Smith in his orange hoodie today. It's Jason Martinez, Flyers,
To
and
make all day. Is it orange or black day? This
today's
time
an orange day because
yeah.
it's road. I wish they would go back, Brian, to wearing white jerseys at home and the dark jerseys on the road. Remember that?
There's a lot of pull for that, right? When you do it the way they do it now, you have 30 teams that come in with white jerseys, right? So that's all you get. Orange, white, maybe black, white sometimes. Folks used to like to see the white for the home team and then the whatever for the other team. But who knows? I don't know who makes those kinds of decisions. But they switch in the minors, some of the minor leagues. I don't remember if the American Hockey League does it, but I know the lower levels, they used to switch halfway through the season.
Oh, really? So the home team would go to the lights and the road team would be in the darks.
Yeah. So
I mean, USA Hockey, our club rules are for the home team, we wear our whites, and when we're on the road, we wear our darks.
It's really confusing when you work for an NHL team and then you have to take your kids to their hockey games. You got to remember what jerseys to take.
Yeah, always bring both because you never know.
Yes. I had 5 today because I had back-to-back games, 2 different teams. One of the teams has 3 jerseys, so I had to take 5 jerseys this morning. It was fun.
Oh, I thought you were saying 5 games. I'm going, geez.
No.
Nothing that crazy. Well, we're not. My son's team's not back till tomorrow. We'll do a pregame show tomorrow at 1:40 for my son's game at the class of 23 against Snyder Hockey.
Yeah.
Pregame festivities here on the stream.
Let's go for it.
You see, on that team, I'm the coach, so I have some relative control, as they say.
Inside access on that team, right?
Yeah. Well, I call it relative control because this is this is what you call a radio transition. Because Mike Yeo the other day after the game, and we talked about it post-game show, I had to burr my saddle about the power play where they had 4 guys on the ice for a pronounced period of time.
Right.
And Mike Yeo was asked about it post-game by our very own Bill Meltzer. And his answer, I thought, was very telling. Because Mike Yeo has been extremely honest in his media availability. And you don't get that often. You get coaches that are good in media availabilities and they say something, but a lot of times they don't give you just blind honesty and transparency. And here's what Mike Yeo said when Bill asked him about it. I'll just give you part of it. He said the communication was there on the bench that we had 4 guys, and it still took another 5 seconds for the player to be ready. We have to be sharper. He said, to me, it was a prime example of where our heads were at. Assignments that we've drilled over and over again, shown on video over and over again, that we were missing right from the start of the game. And then he said, I think our next game will tell us if this was just a little bit of sloppiness coming out of the break or how much work we have to do. End quote. I thought the quote was awesome.
Yeah.
Because it was very honest.
There you have it.
Right? Mike saying, that's unacceptable. You got to be ready on the bench. You got to be into the game and ready to go. When your guy comes off, you go on. Shouldn't have to be prompted by the bench.
And that's to your point, the insight you get from stuff like that. That is a big difference between the 2 head coaches the Flyers have had this year. I mean, Alain Vigneault was personable, and he would he would engage with the media, but he held everything very close to the vest. And we get a little bit more of an insight with Mike Yeo into what is going on in the heads of the coaches and the heads of the players and the game plan. You get a little more insight with him than you did previously. So that is refreshing to hear. And, to whatever extent a coach isn't going to rip his team in the media, I think that probably gets about as close to being what we get these days in terms of that.
See, you make a really good point, because a lot of times what is said in the media is a message to the team. There's the message that he delivers in the room, but there's also a message that he delivers publicly.
Yeah.
And that's part of what he's doing there. And you're right. AV seemed to have an agenda, and it was a very rigid agenda in what he was going to release in those. We go back to last March, right? And that how things were just falling apart, and Carter was struggling. The team defense was struggling, and he was very tough on Carter.
Right.
Very tough, saying he needed to battle more, compete more, all of these things. And we were a little taken back. I was certainly taken back by it. I think Carter was taken back. I think everybody on the team was taken back with it. I think it's part of the reason why he's not here, to be honest with you. I think he lost a lot of guys when he did that. Because what do we know about Carter, Bry? He works his rear end off
Yeah.
and is professional beyond his years. Preparation, the way he takes care of his body, his mind. I mean, he's doing concentration grids at home, all kinds of stuff. Cold showers after games to cool his body and then get the sleep and proper sleep. Everything. He does it all. I've talked to him about all of it on the podcast. And that was a little shocking when he did that. But Mike Yo is just unbridled honesty. And I appreciate it as a guy that, is kind of, we look at this team and we analyze this team and we cover this team. And I appreciate what he does.
Yeah. And again, getting to what you just mentioned about Carter, and it's just kind of changing the subject again, but all that you just mentioned that he does on a routine basis, to me, is why he had such an off year last year, because all of that stuff was just, thrown in the air and land where it may, right? It was just
on the road. You couldn't get into the arena, 90 minutes before a game.
Yep.
His process starts well before 90 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, who knows if you could get in a cold tub? Like, I don't know how any of that stuff worked, but everything that he has built his whole career on in terms of his habits and his preparation and his work ethic was just kind of tossed to the wolves last season. So to me, that's why that last year was an aberration. And I don't even look at it when evaluating him as a goaltender. Right? Look at even this year's been a little bit crazy, but again, with the exception of very small pieces, maybe last game being one of them. The first game of the year wasn't great. Other than that, he has been stellar, and he's exactly the kind of goalie the Flyers are going to want behind a team that's performing to its top abilities. And I don't even want to say put it behind a good team, because I think the Flyers do have a good team, but 8 of them are hurt, and then the rest of them aren't playing as well as they could without those 8 guys. So once you put them behind a team that's performing to the top of its capability, I think you're going to really see him shine.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the team this year, you are what your record says you are. And right now, I mean, they're a team that it just struggles to score so much. And that's why I think what he's done this year is all the more impressive, because, having a team that doesn't give you run support or goals is more pressure on the goalie, because there's this mentality of, hey, we're here to win, right? And the way we win is cumulatively by giving up less than we get. And for the goaltender, he wants to win. And if he knows his team's struggling, he's no fool. He knows what's going on in front of him, and that they're struggling to score, then the margin for error is very fine. And he's done such a good job keeping this team in games that perhaps they had no business being in a lot of occasions, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many, if you go back and look at the game by games, I mean, there's handfuls of 6-3 games like the other night, but there's so many 2-1s, 3-2s in there. I mean, we were going through that stretch where the Flyers were a long stretch, like 18 games where they were averaging less than 2 goals per game. I mean, stuff like that is not going to get it done no matter who your goaltender is. And, it's the easy way out to sit there and look at a goalie's record and say, oh, he's no good. You have to look a little bit deeper than that a lot of times. And this is one of those occasions, I think.
Absolutely. I totally agree. His season's been good. He's going to get the start today for the Flyers. It'll be Carter Hart and Thomas Greiss, the former New York Islander. By the way, in Hart's last 9 games, he has a record of 2-5-1. He's only allowed 24 goals on 28 shots. That's a .914 save percentage. And that goes all the way back to the 13th of January. And I imagine, Brian, if they end up moving Martin Jones, and there's some scuttlebutt out there that, Edmonton's been interested and they just haven't come to an agreement, and he's obviously on an expiring contract, we'll probably see a good amount of Carter coming down the stretch here. And you hope that he can finish the year as strongly as he's played the year thus far. But we could see guys like Felix Sandstrom, and who knows, maybe Ivan Fedotov, who's shredded up over at the Olympics.
I have to admit, before we came on the air, Jason asked me about Ivan Fedotov, and for a brief moment, I thought what you were saying was that we had let him go and the Red Wings had gotten him. And he was doing well for the Red Wings. And then I had to look into it a little bit and realize, oh, he's tearing it up at the Olympics, because I hadn't noticed this yet.
Back-to-back shutouts, Bry.
Yeah. Whether and you mentioned it a few minutes ago that you can never have too many goalies. For me, where the Flyers are right now, to move Martin Jones for something at the deadline is a no-brainer.
Yep.
Nothing against him at all. He's had I think he's been very good for the Flyers, and I think that's why it's a no-brainer, because you can get an asset for him, move him to a place where he's got an opportunity to make a playoff run. And then I'm very excited to see Felix Sandstrom in a regular NHL role. I really think we saw him once during the West Coast trip. We had seen him mostly, you and I, in training camp situations, and been very impressed with what we saw there. And I didn't see anything in that one game that made me think that he's not ready for an NHL role. So given where everybody's at right now, certainly would not mind seeing him up with the Flyers on a full-time basis. It opens up a little bit more development room for the Flyers at the minor league level. I know Kirill Ustimenko is rolling around there somewhere, and the Flyers have at least one goalie right now in the system that's not on an NHL contract.
I think Urson's hurt again, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know. It's not as easy as just calling up Fedotov and saying, "Hey, come on over."
You don't do that.
But they've got to at least like what's coming out of the Olympics there with him. The fact that the Flyers on the NHL side are kind of not going to be in the mix here gives them an opportunity to bring some of these guys up and say, "Hey, okay, let's see what we got here." I see an asset at some point coming in for him, and we'll see. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, he's got good numbers in the KHL the last 3 years. Played over 30 games in 1920. Had a .931 save percentage, not too shabby. Wow. 26 games in 2021, .925, and this year in 26 games he's got a .919. So pretty damn good numbers.
What was that one stat there that you can't teach?
Size. He's got that in spades. 6'7", 200 pounds. Yeah. They took him in the 7th round.
Yeah.
188 overall. I mean, it was either him or me, and they went size. I'm 5'7", he's 6'7".
And that was, that was 7 years ago at this point. That was
he's 25. He's not young.
Yeah, that was the Columbus draft. And, 7th round picks these days are interesting because, sometimes you are in a draft where you don't think that it's worth using. Not that draft, but the draft after that, the Flyers punted their 7th round pick to the next year on, I think, 2 or 3 consecutive occasions to the Montreal Canadiens. And one of those picks ended up
becoming a ritual.
Yeah. One of those picks ended up with Caden Primo. I think that was a favor to Keith as much as anything that the Flyers didn't select Caden Primo. I don't think Dad wanted him in that kind of pressure cooker, although Montreal certainly is not a anything to sneeze at, but he's been doing well there.
Did you connect, by the way, real quick?
I will. I can do that.
Yeah, you connect. Pat just texted us. We got about 2.5 minutes.
That's interesting that they've that they've got somebody here so far after the fact that is starting to pop up on the radar down in that late part.
Yeah, no doubt. And sometimes those bigger goalies take a little bit longer. It is the Flyers and the Red Wings today. We're going to join our radio audience in just a couple of minutes.
Plus, see how you can access tax lien codes private.
Now we got the radio coming through the stream. I love it.
I took care of that. I'm not a professional.
How much time, Pat? Pat always, for the streaming audience, Pat always gets annoyed because I constantly ask how much time, especially when he goes 2 minutes and I'll go like 10 seconds later. How much time? And I don't even realize it. I think I just tune him out. Like I have this internal mute button that I've perfected when it comes to my wife and kids. And I've now added Pat to it, 2:15. How much time, Pat? But Pat's great. And he keeps us sane during these pre-intermission and post games on far too many occasions. We'll see if we can gain some sanity today. The home and home, the old school home and home, usually it's closer in days on the calendar, but it's been a couple of days since the Flyers played the Red Wings. But the notion in the NHL, Bryce, it's always hard to beat a team twice in a row.
Yes, it is. Because usually there's adjustments made, right? This is a like you said, a little bit of a different situation with 3 days in between. The other thing that we're kind of going against the grain on is neither of these teams have ever been any good in the other team's building. The Red Wings had this thing going where that game actually on Wednesday was their first regulation win in Philadelphia in 25 years during the regular season. Now that was always a big asterisk because they had a couple of important wins since then. Back in
2 in 97.
Yeah. But and so that was only the 15th regulation win the Red Wings had ever gotten in Philadelphia, which is kind of astounding when you look at how long they've both been playing each other. But Detroit was in the Western Conference for a long time. They didn't meet too many times either there for a while. But the Flyers have never been all that great in Detroit. So they'll I'm sure the new building has something to do with juking that a little bit. But the visiting locker room in the Joe was awful. Maybe it doesn't even matter anymore. Just little statistical things that we notice every now and then.
Yeah. Well, they'll try and get the win. It's Little Caesars Arena still, correct?
It is, yes.
All right. Flyers come into this game in the bottom spot now in the Metropolitan Division. The Devils have the 7th spot, and the Flyers have 2 games in hand on the Devils, but are 2 points back, 2-7-1 in their last 10. Obviously, the Flyers lost their last one. That was against Detroit. They had 2 wins before that over Winnipeg and the Los Angeles Kings in overtime to end the 13-game winless skid. They'll look to get a win here today before heading to Pittsburgh on Tuesday, then a franchise-high 8-game homestand. 4 games to round out the month of February, 4 to begin the month of March, and we're going to join our radio audience right now. We got to get the voice guy back to work. It's Jason Martinez, Game Day with Brian Smith. It's Flyers Game Day with Jason Martinez and Brian Smith. There we go. We just did it for you.
At least the editing guy. One of the two.
Yeah. Maybe they edited you out.
Either one will work.
They said you got to update that paneling in your home studio, and until you do, we're gonna take you out of the open.
It is in process, but it's probably an off-season proposition at this point. But
yeah, a little busy.
By the fall, just like the Flyers will be all freshened up in their roster and everybody will be healthy again, we'll have a nice new backdrop. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, drywall and paint, always good. We were just mentioning on the stream to the stream audience, Flyers in the 8th spot in the Metropolitan Division, record of 15-23-8, 38 points, 1 back of the Devils. We've got 39, but Flyers have 2 games in hand. And now the Islanders have only played 41 games, are a couple of points up on the Flyers, and they're going to try and chase something down, but they're only 5-5 in their last 10. The opposition today, Bri, the Detroit Red Wings. And Detroit on the season, they're a team that was hanging on in a playoff spot, and everybody's kind of going, like Detroit's off to a pretty good start here under Steve Yzerman's club. 21-21-6 now, though, 48 points. They're sitting in the 5th spot in the Atlantic Division behind the Boston Bruins, who have 3 games in hand on them. And when you look at Detroit, 5-4-1 in their last 10, they did win their last one. That was against the Flyers. And at home, they're 14-9-3. Flyers on the road this season have a record of 7-12-4. So it's the Flyers and the Red Wings today. Carter Hart versus Thomas Greiss. What are you looking for today in this game, Bri?
Well, we're looking for, I think, for the Flyers, just a bit of a bounce back game from the other night. The overall, I think, consensus with that game the other night was the Flyers looked like a team that was coming off the All-Star break, and Detroit didn't look like that quite so much. They're looking for a little bit better execution. They're looking for a little bit, I think, better, mental check-in into the game. And, just overall, I think a harder, more, I'm trying to stay away from the word effort here because I think the effort probably more or less was there the other night. But, when you're not executing at the top of your game, it can appear like the effort is falling off a little bit. So I think the Flyers, overall are just going to try to look to be a little sharper and a little tougher to play against today.
Yeah, effort's one of those weird words. Like you can be trying, but not trying effectively.
Correct.
Sometimes the effort might be there, but it's not focused effort. Now, the literal definition of effort is a vigorous or determined attempt. I think despite that, we still need more of a vigorous or determined attempt today in all facets. And that's mental as well.
Yeah, I mean, you and I can go out there and try as hard as we want today, and it would not go well if we were in the lineup. So for those guys, it's again uh, combining that effort with the execution, and sometimes that's making the simpler play, right? Sometimes that's not trying to do too much in a game. So there might be a little bit of that there. The I really feel like some of the guys that had come into the lineup over the last month because of the injuries had started to settle in and kind of find their game there before the All-Star break. So they might have lost that a little bit over that break. So just a matter of finding it again here today and playing what we call in the business a solid road game. Not only is this a road game, but it's a noon road game, and that is again, everybody's going to be out of their routine a little bit. So they're going to be. I really feel like in this particular situation, the Flyers have a little bit of an advantage being on the road than they did and they would if they were at home, because they're all in. You're in the hotel, you get up, you leave, you all get on the same bus, you come over. Red Wings got to get up in their own homes. If you got families, you got to say goodbye to kids that aren't used to you necessarily leaving this early on a Saturday unless you're going to practice and yada yada yada. There's a lot there, so I think that that this might actually benefit them a little bit.
Boy, that is some serious stringing some things together for you. That's early to come up with that today. That's impressive.
That's
one of the things, Detroit's not a good team yet, but they have some really good pieces. I mean, we talked about Dylan Larkin. We saw that on display in the game on Wednesday. He's got 46 points in 43 games. We saw Bertuzzi, who's got 41 points in 40 games. But their next two highest scorers are two young guys. And, the notion that you're really far away from being a team that can get into the playoffs, sometimes it's you're not as far as you think you are, because Lucas Raymond, who's got 37 points this year, Brian, 48 games, 12 of them goals, the right winger, and Moritz Seider, who played 48 games as well, has 31 points. Moritz Seider was drafted in 2019, I think 6th overall, and Lucas Raymond 4th overall in the 2020 draft. And these two young players are contributing already, and they weren't top 2 overall picks in the NHL draft. I think that is an encouraging thing in this sideways season for the Flyers.
Yes, yeah, it is. This is again a very strange stretch we're going through here with these drafts and stuff like that, where you're having a hard time getting a read on guys. Guys aren't developing the same way that they have in the past. It's just a little bit of an uncharted situation, and I think it kind of applies to where Detroit is as well as a team. I mean, they've missed the playoffs 5 straight years, which is uncharacteristic for them. And if you recall, when the shortened season 2 years ago was shut down early, they only had 17 wins in March, and people were like, whoa, what's wrong with these guys? I mean, that's not Red Wings hockey. Last year, they had 19 wins in 56 games, which was even fewer games than they played the year before. So this team is on its way up. But yeah, it's, again, you got a couple of teams right now here that are trying to find their way, if you will, and deal with it in a bit of an unprecedented situation.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, you look at this team, and you look at Lucas Raymond. He's 19 years old,
right,
out of Gothenburg, Sweden, and contributing very significantly at the NHL level. And then you look at Seider, for the German, is only 20 years of age. Now, he's a big kid, 6'4", almost 200 pounds, but both of them contributing nicely. And if there's kind of a model for drafting and developing, I think any team that Steve Yzerman's got his mitts on is kind of the model, because you would think that he'd be an overcooker in that old school way, guys playing the AHL and overcook, but he's got 2 young players in his lineup contributing. He's got other young players as well. And we all know what he did in Tampa, because he's probably more responsible for that roster than Julien BriseBois, especially the core talent. BriseBois brought in some other pieces to put him over the top, important pieces. But Steve Yzerman, known now, obviously, as a great drafter and developer of talent.
And, the other thing to not lose track of is the teams he played on in Detroit. If you remember back in the 90s and the 2000s, I mean, those teams were built on the Red Wings scouting department finding diamonds in the rough, mostly in Europe. So he's played through, the type of system that he is now executing as a general manager, and started to do so in Tampa before the switch. So he's got a lot of these pieces in place right now. And again, like you said, they're starting to come around and be contributors. So, they start adding to that core, and watch out. This is going to be a team that once they are able to complete this, is going to be right back where they were back when they were a Flyers nemesis.
Yeah, and they made the playoffs, 25 straight years. Won some cups in there as well, and some epic battles with Colorado and other teams. Thomas Greiss gets the start in net tonight. He's played 16 games, 6-7-1, 336 goals against average, and an .894 save percentage. We'll see if the Flyers can dent him in this game. I'm looking at Travis Konechny today to bust out and be a big factor. We shall see.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates. Coates, he played in Detroit. Tim is from Detroit. Little home cooking on the road today for the boys. Stay tuned. Countdown to face-off and all the first period action after this. You're listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. All right, Pat. All right, stream. Let's get a win today, boys.
Absolutely.
We need it.
I forgot. I think we have a delayed face-off today because I think they're retiring Coates's number.
What number did he wear there?
I have no idea.
8.5?
74 1/3. Let me see here. We can find out real quick.
We should do a feature at the intermission on Coates, his time in
17.
Detroit. You wore 17?
17, yep.
I would have never pegged Coates as a 17 guy.
No.
I thought he would have been like a single digits guy.
Maybe, yeah. You never know, right? But I don't know what he wore at Michigan Tech, but 17 in Detroit in 1976-77.
Wow, he had a goal too.
That team went 16, 55, and 9.
Oof, Coatesy. Well, Coatesy only played in 5 games. He did have a goal, and I'm trying to see. They didn't keep time on ice at that time. They didn't have clocks yet when he played.
Using the sundials back then.
Yeah. Oh, unbelievable. If you go on Hockey DB and look up Coatesy, his picture is just so fantastic with a huge flow and like a Ron Jeremy style mustache.
The mustache. Yeah, the mustache is my favorite. Played with Jim Rutherford of all people.
Oh, goaltender.
How about that?
And now the president of hockey operations in Vancouver, of course, was in Pittsburgh, won some cups there, and with Carolina as well. Interesting.
Yeah, I think Vancouver might finally be figuring it out. We'll see.
And they have Coatesy listed at 5'9". He is no longer 5'9". He's about 5'7" now. He's lost a couple inches.
Yeah, it happens, I think, right?
Yeah.
As gravity catches up to you.
Yeah, I was 6 foot at one point. No. I'm going to put this picture up on the stream before we get out of here real quick. Hold on one sec. See if I can do this. Let me open this up. I clipped it. Let me see if I can make it really big. I'm trying to make it real big so everybody can see Coatesy in his playing days. Oh, he is a beauty. Move it over here. All right, let's share this photo of everybody. Steve Coates from back in the 70s. So we go here. Let's go screen. There he is. And we'll put him right in there. There we go. Oh, let me get rid of the thing. Look at that beauty.
That is something else.
Yeah. Look at that.
A huge endorsement deal or something like that.
For what? Like,
I don't know.
Hair product?
Schlitz.
Well, he has that one now. Beautiful. Oh, we got the Red Bull RB18 there for everybody. That's my screensaver. All right, we can take that out. All right, everybody, enjoy your hockey today. We'll talk to you at the intermission and post-game Flyers Red Wings. All right.
Have one, Vince.